Our WyoPreps.com game of the week for small schools is voted on by you, the fans. It takes us to Class 1A nine-man in the East Conference as third-ranked Saratoga goes on the road to number 2 Pine Bluffs on Friday night, visiting with Pine Bluffs head coach Will Gray. And Will, thank you so much for a few minutes. Obviously, guys, off to a great start. How would you describe how your team's playing right now, what you've been kind of seeing in the last few weeks out of them?
Well, first, thanks for having us. I'm kind of surprised our game was chosen with Lingle and Southeast tonight. That's always a big one. The last couple have been, one score games with them. So, a little bit surprised, but, we're moving the ball, well, and we're tackling. That's the name of the game is blocking and tackling, and up to today, we're doing a good job. These next 3 weeks, we've got some good opponents coming up. So we're going to find out if we're good enough to do that.
Obviously, you got some pieces apparently in the right spots right now. How are you taking advantage of the Karsten Freebergs at quarterback, Justin Lurwick at receiver, Sean Smittle doing what he does? How are you able to take advantage of those guys that you have right now?
With them just being coachable and not worrying about who's touching the ball, those three dudes just want to win, and everybody around them want to win games. They don't care about stats, and this might be, in my 18 years, one of the most coachable group of kids we've had, and that's not to say other groups haven't been, but they just take to coaching really, really well.
Obviously, I think your offense gets a lot of the headlines, but what about your defense? What are you seeing on that side of the ball from your squad right now, Will, and particularly guys that maybe don't get a lot of love and pub, and maybe like a Jessen or some of the other guys that have stepped up on that side.
Yeah, we rotate a lot of guys in and out on both sides of the ball. But as a group, Coach Anderson does a really, really good job with those kids, having them in the right spot and then just leaving it up to them to make the play. And right now we're making plays. Ethan Baumberger and Colton Beimer are doing a great job, sealing gaps up front. Tanner Long, when Tanner was a freshman, there's no way I would have said he'd have ever gotten on the varsity field. He was about 65 pounds, soaking wet, couldn't catch. Um, but now he's our starting corner, and he's come a long ways. And then we got some sophomores in the mix that do a lot of good things. Cam, Justin's got a knee injury at the moment. We're not sure what's going on. He's got some appointments and things coming up, but if we get him back, great. If not, he's willing to help coach those kids up and get them ready. So, just as a group defensively, they're tackling and they're coachable.
All right, Saratoga coming in. I think they're having some maybe better success than they possibly thought. Talking with Coach Mason and just kind of seeing what they've got going on right now. What are you seeing out of the Panthers coming to your place?
Well, we're not real surprised, when a lot of their kids were eighth graders, we didn't play them, but they played people close to us and they were putting some scores up and we're like, all right, they're going to have some teams here coming up. We saw them in camp in June at Black Hills. They've come a long way since then. They were probably missing pieces like everybody was. But they do a really good job of doing some different things to get their kids the ball. They're creative. They think outside the box, and it makes it hard on your scout team to try and prep for what they do. We have our kids watching, Saratoga's offense so they can actually go out at practice and do it the way it's intended. And um, they're creative and they get 81 the ball a lot of different ways. Five's a tough kid. He's taken some shots over the year, but he throws a good ball and he puts it where it needs to be.
So, what has the emphasis been with your group this week as you kind of approach the start of a big stretch that you kind of alluded to earlier?
Well, you got to finish everything you start, whether it's the first quarter or the fourth quarter, and then blocking and tackling. If we can keep it simple and, the bells and whistles and things that we put in, the motions, the shifts, that's all fine and dandy if we block and tackle. So it's got to come down to that and just being locked in, watching film on your own at home, and watching it with a purpose, not just watching to say you watched it, but watch with a purpose, you know, go out and picture yourself. This is how they're going to line up. This is how I got to attack it.
Well, Will, I thank you greatly for your time again, and I think you could probably thank your fan base for being picked the game of the week. As I said, it is fan voted, so we went with the fans this week. Also, kind of spotlighting a couple other teams that I haven't had a chance to visit with so far this year. Also, kind of helps out. But best of luck on Friday night. I appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.
We continue talking about our fan voted Wyopreps Small School Game of the Week, and it takes us to Class 1A 9-man. We've heard from Pine Bluffs head coach Will Gray. Now we visit with Saratoga head coach Jared Mason. And, Coach, thank you for a few minutes. And first of all, 5-0 start to the season, 3-0 in conference. Things have gone pretty well. How would you describe, the start to this season and here in the midpoint of the season, how your team's playing right now, Coach?
Probably describe it as unprecedented. Surely wasn't expecting to be at this point. Considering I was just thinking this morning, we're playing five guys that didn't even play last year. We lost a key running back to knee surgery, and our other running back moved away. So, we're young and have replaced lots of guys. So really was not expecting the start that we've had, but kudos to the young men on our team that have stepped up. It's been a fun ride so far, and hopefully we can keep it rolling.
Yeah, you guys have a tough finishing stretch here coming up. Talk a little bit about, it's unprecedented, but what do you think has got you there? What has your team shown you so far that's enabled you to find ways to win games, whether it's close or a blowout?
You know, just the competitive nature. I mean, we are young, but our kids will compete. They're resilient. I couldn't be more proud of the effort that I've gotten out of them this year. And my assistant coaches, Coach Wright and Coach Vanette, has had our defense playing lights out. My offense has been struggling, and I'll take a good chunk of that blame. But my assistants have been doing a great job as well.
Hazen gets a lot of the love offensively, and obviously you guys kind of, I think, want to really establish the ground game. But you just talked about it. Your stingy defense has done a lot for you guys. What has it been to see guys like a Skylar Wood, a Griffin Bartlett, a few other guys step up on that side of the ball?
That's the thing is everybody stepped up. Skylar Wood didn't play last year. Levi Hatch is another one that's new here at linebacker for us. Our guys up front are taking doubles and triples to let our linebackers flow and make tackles. And so it's really been a team effort from that side of the ball. And I think, again, back to Coach Wright and having a solid game plan every week has helped us immensely as well.
All right, Pine Bluffs, that's a pretty good juggernaut that Coach Gray has. What do you see when you see the Hornets?
I see a kind of a David versus Goliath matchup. I hate to say that, but those guys are perennial powerhouses. I mean, we haven't earned that right to even be in that statement yet. Those guys, like I say, they're always in the playoffs. Seems like always fighting for a state title, and we are experiencing a new area that we haven't been in before. It's going to be tough. You look at stats, they throw the ball around, they run the ball, they pretty much can do whatever the heck they want. Their defense doesn't give up hardly any yards. I know we're going to have our hands full, and on paper, it looks like it could be a blowout. I mean, you look at scores that they've put up against everybody else and what their defense has done to other teams too. I'm just hoping that our boys, like I said earlier, are competitive, that they'll step up and compete and be resilient when we get knocked in the mouth, that we'll take a punch but fire back, and hopefully we can just play the game and never know. I mean, that's why we play it. So.
Well, and that kind of leads me to my next question was, what's kind of your message to the team this week, particularly maybe when you do face some adversity that maybe you haven't seen so far this year?
We've experienced some adversity, which, our last couple of games, we've snuck out a couple tight victories. We have been punched in the mouth. Teams have come out physical against us. We've made lots of mistakes. We've made way too many mistakes. When we have good drives, we've shot ourselves in the foot, and I don't know that I really there's anything, key to say to the kids. It's that team chemistry right now. I'm just pleased with how our team has bonded as a whole. We've got some great leaders on the team that, are always picking one another up. It's, next play mentality. And it's really about the team, So I think if they just keep believing in one another and just doing their job to their best of the ability, that's all we can ask for them out of every play. And there's no perfect, answer or way to pump them up. I mean, they just have to go out and play, and we can just hope for like a Vanderbilt, Alabama type outcome. So.
Well, Coach, hey, you've had a great season so far. I know it's going to be a tough one, but I wish you the best of luck to you and your team on Friday in Pine Bluffs. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.